The future Catskill Resort Museum, Ellenville, New York. The Catskill Resort Museum is designed to not only recall the glory days of the resort era, but also attempts to replicate elements of that bygone era. Physically, the museum's design refers to one of the great resorts, the Cliff House. The stone cliff walls of the first level will integrate daylighting strategies that harken back to the era. A waterfall and plaza will grace the entrance and reinforce the museum's sense of place. The second level of the facility opens onto a landscaped green roof and offers stunning vistas of the Catskills. Balconies and verandas on each side of the facility will allow patrons to relax and enjoy the view as they would have from the resort of the era. The facility is comprised of approximately 42,000 square feet of interactive exhibit space and auditorium, lecture hall, and comedy hall of fame for the plethora of talent that performed the Catskill Resort circuit for decades. There's also a gift shop that will overlook a private garden. The auditorium can seat upwards of 400 patrons and is capable of hosting events outside of the normal museum hours of operation without compromising museum security. The museum envisions importing the same type of performances from New York and elsewhere that performed during the resort heyday. The lecture hall will host smaller events and will support the museum with film screenings and visiting lecturers. The interactive exhibit areas are woven into the space between the lecture hall and auditorium, creating a synergy for the enjoyment of the entire museum.
Hello, my friends. I'm Jake Ehrenreich. You may know me from my show A Jew Grows in Brooklyn, or my new CD, A Treasury of Jewish Christmas Songs, or even from my recent film with Mel Brooks. If you know any of my work, you'll know how important the Catskill Mountains have been in my life. And today I'd like to speak to you about a special place called the Catskills Resort Museum. This is a place that will preserve the legacy of this magical, wonderful place. You know, the Catskills was the finest training ground that there ever was for singers and comedians and young musicians like myself. But not only did I learn my trade in the Catskills like so many others, I spent every summer in the Catskill Mountains with my family, escaping the heat and oppression of Brooklyn, New York, perhaps like many of you did. But for us, the Catskills was a true refuge. My family are Holocaust survivors. And for families like us, the Catskills was a place where my parents and their friends finally let their hair down for just a few moments. You know, I would listen to my father cry through the locked bathroom door in Brooklyn, and in the Catskills, I would watch him laugh to these comedians in the nightclub. That's what it meant to us. It was so very important. And the Catskills was so important to American culture. Jewish comedy became American comedy. Jewish entertainment became American entertainment. A rabbi came up to me after my show in Kansas City and said, I didn't realize. I thought the Catskills was a place where they just told shticky jokes. I didn't know how important it was to American culture and to survivor families like yours. So that's why it's so important to support the Catskills Resort Museum, to remember the legacy, keep it alive for generations to come. So please, help me support the Catskills Resort Museum. My friends, Zolzayim Mazel and Gezind, that means it should be with health and good luck to you. I look forward to seeing you on TV or at one of my shows, or hopefully in the future at the Catskills Resort Museum. All my best.
Welcome, my friends! Welcome, everyone, to the fabulous Starlight Group.
You know, it's amazing. I come up here, I am so relaxed and so happy, and I realized one day what it was. It was like almost reliving my boyhood, which was not that long ago. I grew up really as a child of the Catskills via New York City. I remember my parents, we used to hop in that hack, I guess they used to call it a hack, and we should come up here and get up to, these bungalows where they cook, and we'd stay up there for a month or two. And then that developed into my background at the Neverly Country Club. And of course, we went to Brown's and Grow Singers, and of course the Concord, where I appeared so many times. So I've had so much experience up here that I know somewhere it's in my DNA. And that's why I really get very excited at the prospect of having the Catskill Resort Museum come into our lives. Because without this kind of history, it's going to disappear. Interest just goes away very quickly with the ensuing generations. We owe it to them to give them this history of how their great-great-grandparents, their great-parents, great-grandparents, their grandparents, parents all grew up. We had a very rich heritage. In this world of ours today, we need a little tradition. And if I have anything to do with it, I cannot let this disappear. I won't let this disappear. So I'm asking you to please join us in keeping this history alive. What great memories we had. Please, let's keep it alive. I'm your cousin Brucey, and I'm asking you to join us in this fantastic odyssey. The odyssey of keeping the Catskill resorts, this history alive. It's rich, but we have to dig it.
The Catskill Resort Museum must come to fruition. We have the most incredible reputation for resorts in the country, in the world. I was in New Zealand and someone was talking about vacationing in the Catskills. There are such memories connected with it for people who either vacation there or who work there. And what about all the performers who got their start there? They were able to hone their talents. This cannot be left without having a wonderful museum where generations that are coming up and those of us of our generation can go and relive the wonderful times we had in the Catskill area with the best resorts in the country.